Hello, my friends in the house cleaning industry. Welcome to another episode of True Grime Stories. I'm your host, Jeannie Henderson, and I am really glad to have my friend Amber Gardner with me today. This is a long time coming. She's been a part of our cleaning industry since 2020, so she has some great stories to share about her growth. Before we went live today, she was talking about how fast her business is growing. So you'll want to stay tuned in. We have a fast growing business owner with us today. So her business, the Clean Team, is located in Port Clinton, Ohio. And she has been living in that area for about 10 years, but started her cleaning business in 2020. And she just loves the cleaning industry and loves to make people happy. So that's kind of what drew her into this. And she just loves to provide professional service and gives great customer satisfaction to her clients. She likes to put a personal and loving touch into every clean. So, welcome, Amber. I'm so glad that you're here today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm sure you have a lot of great stories to share. But one of the things that I love to hear here on True Grime Stories is just how we all got started in this business. We all come from so many different places. What made you think starting a cleaning business would be a great idea?
Well, I wasn't, I kind of was having a big life change, if you will. I was, in the middle of, I was going through a divorce and I was, pretty big life changes. And I had kind of the company I worked for sold and then sold again. And it wasn't the atmosphere or the home feel that I had with the company the 16 years prior. I kind of
Hmm.
just become a number, and I just felt like I was kind of just not pushed aside, but not part of the family that we once were. So I just kind of thought I want to do something that really makes people happy and helps them. I love helping people. And I was sitting out by the lake one morning, and it, I just heard somebody say, "You should start cleaning." And so I thought, well, I'll try that. And I just kind of decided to come up with a name. And, I got a couple clients, and then I grew and I grew and I just kind of kept growing. Um, so I just, and I loved it. I love people, coming home and being happy and sending me happy messages. And,
Yeah,
um,
that's a great feeling, isn't it?
yeah,
When you
yeah.
really know you're making people happy. So, backing up though, you said you heard somebody say you should clean houses or you should start cleaning. I mean, was that like a voice from heaven or was it from a human being?
Yeah, no, I really thought I was just having a not the best morning, and I went out by the lake and was just sitting out there praying. And
Mhm.
I didn't literally hear, but I literally heard,
Yeah.
um,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
you should start cleaning. And so I was like, okay, I'll listen.
That's very
So,
cool.
and I thought
Yeah.
to myself as I was walking home, I thought, why did I think of that? What a great idea. So,
Well, how wonderful. That's a
yeah.
that's a really inspiring story, like you're on a mission from God right now, in the cleaning business. And a lot of us do make it, kind of our mission because if you love to serve people and take care of people, you have that servant's heart. The cleaning
Mhm,
industry is such a great place to be
mhm.
because every single day, you're touching somebody's life. So yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
I love that story. That's so cool. That's great. And so now, you started from zero, literally, right?
Mhm.
Were you cleaning in the field?
Yes, I was. So I
Mhm.
started about, oh gosh, probably about in January. I think maybe like towards the very, very end of December, just here and there. But in January is when I quit my career job, my job, and
Mhm.
decided that I would just do the cleaning.
And this
Um,
is January of 2020.
yes. Nope.
Wow.
Yeah. No, it would have been late 2020. So it would have been January of 21.
2021. Okay, so
Yeah.
the pandemic had already been around for a while at that
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
But I mean, this was afterwards, so this was the point when people were kind of scared still, but kind of
Mhm.
not. But yeah, I just so it would have been January 2021 that I decided just to kind of go all in um,
Mhm.
on that. But yeah,
Wow. So, there you are cleaning and but today now you've grown, we were talking just before that you have like what, 20 plus technicians,
Hmm.
some administrative help as well. So
Hmm.
you've definitely built a great business in really 4 years, just over 4 years. That's amazing. A lot of people never get past, 6 or 8 technicians,
Hmm.
and you've literally tripled that. So that's really cool. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think January is kind of when, like I said, I decided to kind of go all
Mhm.
in. And then it was around the March time, that February, March, I thought, I can't do this just myself. Like, I'm turning so many people away. And that's when I went to the conference down there in April. And I thought, okay, this is a time where I need to either decide, do I want to make this a business or just stay myself? And once I went all in, then I just, went all in. So we've been growing ever since then.
Wow, that's so cool. And so this is True Grime Stories, and we like to talk about the grime here. And as we all know, being an entrepreneur can be very challenging. And often when we start off in business, we have this idyllic vision of what owning a business is going to be like. In my head, it's kind of like when you become a parent too. You think,
Mhm.
oh, it's going to be so wonderful, and my children are going to be perfect. And it's that same kind of feeling when you start a business. It's like, oh, I'm going to have wonderful employees and wonderful customers, and the birds will be singing, and everything will be perfect. But as we know, not really
No,
the case. So,
no.
I'm sure you've had many wake up calls in that regard since you started, but what's one that comes to mind that, was really one of those things that could have taken you down, but you instead overcame it? What's a grime scene that you can think of, one of your grime scenes that you overcame?
I think it's just probably one of the most. I mean, just because we still bring this up all the time, but it's I have a lot of employees that I can really, really count on. But then you also have those newer employees that, you're just not sure. Are they here for the paycheck? Are they here for the business? But one of the stories that I'll never forget is last year. I was just getting ready to leave for the weekend. It was like a Thursday. We were going out of
Mhm.
town camping for the entire weekend, so I wasn't going to have any service. And, my office manager is very big on making sure that when I'm off, I'm off. I mean,
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, I mean, she's
Nice.
got it. She's got it, but she's very big because she wants that for herself. When she's off work,
Right.
she wants to be off work. So,
Well, it sounds like
um,
you have a good one there.
oh, very good. And it
Yeah.
was a Thursday morning, and I was supposed to be off. And we had hired these two employees that knew each other. They kind of worked the same. They did work at the same place, so we hired
Mhm.
them both. And so it was my first day that I was supposed to be off for this weekend, this long weekend, and my office manager texted me at 6 a.m. saying that they both one had quit because her boyfriend didn't want her working here anymore. And she thinks the other one did too. So, of course, I pop up out of bed. What are we going to do? They both have full schedules. My office manager is here alone. I mean, I'm supposed to be gone.
Mhm.
So I called her, and she said, well, I'll do this. I'll move this here. I'll move this there. We'll do this. So she got it all figured out. She pulled herself from the office to go clean,
Oh my goodness.
got to a vacation rental, and the ceiling had fallen in the kitchen. So
Oh
she
my
called.
gosh.
Yeah.
Oh,
So she
this story
she
just
called.
took a turn I did not expect. Wow.
She says, I really hate to do this to you, but I just got to my first cleaning, and the kitchen ceiling is on the floor. And I said, oh my gosh. So here
Yikes.
I am leaving for the weekend with no service. We just had two girls that quit, got fired. I have nobody in the office right now because she's handling the office while she's cleaning. and I'm expected to go and just enjoy myself, right? And not be stressed out.
Oh, this is making me tense. Yeah, like,
Yeah.
oh,
So,
my breathing is increased, I'm having that, like, I can't remember that response, but, like, mirroring
yeah,
what I think you would be feeling at that moment. Yeah.
yeah, empathy. Yeah. So and we're not just residentials, we're also vacation rentals. So this is a same day turnover. Um, this vacation rental also ended up being my personal vacation rental that I own. So now this is my
Oh, so
problem.
you
This,
own this building that
yes,
this you
yes,
own this house that the kitchen ceiling has fallen.
yes.
Oh my,
So now it's
wow.
not just like, okay, let's call the owner real quick and let them know, and that's their problem. This is a me problem. Um,
'Cause you basically have 2 businesses then.
yeah,
You have your how many vacation rentals do you own?
just two.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, that's plenty, right?
yeah, yeah. We
That's
have two short term, and then six long term.
okay.
But we clean. I don't have it right off the top of my head, but we clean a good amount of vacation rentals.
Mhm.
Um, so it's not just mine that they do. I mean, it's a pretty big part of our business.
Yeah, so those who are listening, Port Clinton is on the coast of Lake Erie in the Great
Yes.
Lakes.
Yep.
So, beautiful area and place where a lot of people want to go. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
We are a vacation destination.
Yeah,
So
what an
yeah.
intense
So
day. You have a
yeah.
lot going on there.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is not the exact thing that happens, but these kinds of days inevitably
Mhm.
come, right? There's just a
Oh
day
yeah.
when, like, 3 things go wrong,
Mhm.
like and and it all happens at once. So here you
Yeah,
are.
and the thing is, that's the biggest one of the biggest lessons that I've learned, I think, is that, um, everything used to be such a big deal. Everything used to be such a big deal.
Mhm,
And then you learn that everything comes at once, right? So if you have these 5 things that happen in one day, it's very easy to say, "Oh my gosh, I'm done. I'm done."
mhm.
Especially with, complaints. I mean, we have very good cleaners, we have very good employees, but at the end of the day, we are all human,
Mhm.
and we all have our own things going on.
Right.
I mean, I'm the owner and I mess up all the time, right? So, I think that that's so the moral of that story with everything going on is in one day is that, we just kept going. She just cleaned it up, got on the phone, called somebody to fix it, let the guests know that the ceiling is not there. It's clean and the leak is no longer happening. It
So it
doesn't
was
look
like
good.
an upstairs bathroom leak or something that had
Yeah,
taken that ceiling down? Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
yeah, yep, yeah. Um, so it's just, and I think that that was just a test between my office manager and myself that it's even though I wasn't there, she was, I was doing as much as I could on the back end while she was here. Um, and it would have been very easy for me to say, never mind, I'm not going. But, she was committed to me going as I would have been if I was the one in the office,
Mhm.
um, having her um, going somewhere. Um,
Right.
but it's whether if you have an instance like that, I mean, there's always things that happen. You might have a Monday where, you have 5 complaints and you're like, oh my gosh, five? That's so many complaints. What are we doing wrong? And then we have to remember that we've had 5 weeks of no complaints.
Yes.
So it's just, and then we might have 5 more weeks of no complaints.
Mhm.
And it just, that's I think probably the biggest lesson that I had to learn is that everything's figure outable. The small things, not small things, because nothing's really small,
Right.
but you can put things in jars and put them up and then take the jars back down later. You don't have to
Mhm.
fix every single thing perfectly right now.
Mhm.
Um, and I
Yeah.
think that, when I called my guest and said, the ceiling has fallen, we have it clean, the leak is fixed, the home is ready for you, but when you're in the kitchen, just don't look up because it doesn't look pretty. But the home is fine, and they were perfect. They were so thankful that, we got everything fixed rather than just canceling for them.
Right.
Because everything in this area gets booked up,
Mm-hmm.
and during this time of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Wow. So there's a lot there to unpack in this, experience that you had, but it is kind of a day in the life of a cleaning business entrepreneur
mhm.
that, uh, you know, it's never just one thing goes wrong. It's, multiple things all at one time. And they were kind of compounding, piling on top of each other. So coming away from that, so you did go on your trip that
I
weekend?
did go on my trip. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
Yep.
awesome. And so coming away from that, like, and being able to be prepared for the next time that that happens, like, what was that big lesson that you learned? I mean, you talked about, I don't have to fix everything all at once, kind of a
Mhm.
thing, but, or what did you do in advance of that that set you up for success that day?
Um, I think the biggest thing is that we just take the most emergent, and this isn't anything, it's not just that day, it's with anything with
Mhm,
the business. Um, Ironically, I'm just now walking back in from that same trip the
mhm,
whole next year later. So that happened last year this time.
mhm,
And it's just taking the most important first thing that you have to do, and doing that first, or the most time crucial thing that you have to do. It was very important with, the two girls that we let go that day. Um, what was on their schedule? Is there somebody that we can move to another day? Is there somebody that we can? So that was of the essence.
mhm.
Time crunch, right? Because the cleaning starts at 8:30 a.m. So, Jen got all that figured out, and I said, just let it go, let those girls go. On Monday when I get back, we'll figure it out what to do with them. Um, that sounds rude. I don't mean what to do with them. I just mean the offboarding process.
Right,
Um,
yeah, taking care of the follow-up
yeah.
necessary.
And,
Mhm,
I really preach a lot in my business about working as a team.
mhm,
Um, Nobody wants to be disrupted. Nobody wants their schedules to change. Nobody wants, the human species is not the best at change. But I say all the time that, at the end of the day, we are a team. We work as a team. The business runs as a team. And that weekend, the girls definitely came together, as a team for sure.
that's great, that's great. Well, let's take a little break here because this is a really great story, and I wanna dig in some more into how you're setting yourself up for success in situations like that. So, but let's take a break right here, and hear a little bit from our sponsor, Cleaning Business Fundamentals, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to True Grime Stories. I'm here with Amber Gardner with the Clean Team in Port Clinton, Ohio. And Amber was sharing a story about when kind of it seemed like everything was falling apart on a day when she was getting ready to leave for a trip. And I love this story, Amber, because all of us have these days. They may have different, pieces and parts to them, but there's always one of those days when it just seems like everything is going wrong. I love your attitude about it though. Um, that you kind of triage uh,
Mhm,
the situation and kind of break it down into pieces, which I think is a great thing. We talk about that like when you're goal setting to break it into pieces, but also when you're dealing with a problem. I love that, breaking it down into manageable pieces and just dealing with them one at a time instead of trying to fix the whole thing all at once. Uh,
mhm.
and congratulations, you went on your trip and you got to go on it again this year, the same trip. So, but let's go. let's take this a little farther upstream because things like this, like getting through that day successfully, don't happen by chance. There is definitely some preparation that goes into creating a business that can survive the owner being gone in the middle of what can feel like a catastrophe.
Mhm.
So, if we take it back that before that day, and let's just break it down like you did into pieces. So that first thing that happened that day was two people calling off or quitting unannounced.
Mhm.
Um, how is your team ready for that? You've got your great office. Is it office manager, admin? Yeah.
Yep, I have office manager and office admin, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So your office manager obviously was prepared for that, but for some people, that would be like such a catastrophe. Like you said, they would throw in the hat and be like, "I'm done. I just
Mhm.
can't take this anymore."
Mhm.
So how is your team prepared for those kinds of situations when you aren't going to be able to serve all the clients that you have on the schedule that day?
Um, so we have a system of, and I do you want me to get in depth in the system that we use? Like
Yeah, I
this,
mean,
can we kind of go
just
through things? Okay.
an
Okay.
overview, but I
Yep.
it obviously was systemized
Yes.
because
Yep.
you know how to take care of it.
Yeah.
And this is like one of those things that gets people to quit the cleaning business or convinces people, you know what? I'm not hiring any more employees. I can't manage them. There's nobody
Yes.
wants to work out there, that kind of thing. It gets people very disillusioned when something like this happens. But when you have a process in place, you're the winner in the end, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yep, absolutely. So the policy or the system that we use is when we have a situation like that, um, where even if, we had two full-time cleaners that their schedules then just for the day.
Mhm.
So we take our clients that we know are not going to be home. We live in an area where we do have a lot of vacation homes, not
Mhm.
rentals, but homes.
Mhm.
So we know that they're not going to be up the entire week, only on the weekends. So those would be the first ones that we would move to another day. We would pull them off. If they're on like a Tuesday and this happens on a Tuesday, we'd pull them off immediately and move a clean that might be an elderly person that is, I don't want to say demanding, but they are very scheduled and want us
Right,
there every week at a certain
right.
day and time.
Mhm.
um, so we move the seasonals off and then the monthlies. And then we kind of can move it around, and then we'll call. We're not just going to take the Tuesday clean and move it to Wednesday. We'll definitely get with the client and just say, hey, is it okay if we move your cleaning to tomorrow? And they're like, oh, absolutely, that's fine. um,
Mhm.
so we kind of have a little bit of wiggle room there. We also have some, and any time that a client states to us, I work out of town. I don't get home until 6 or 7 o'clock at night. So if you need to clean me in the morning or in the afternoon, that's fine. We note that on there because if we know that Mr. Smith doesn't get home until 6 o'clock at night, we know we can move him to an afternoon cleaning, and he does not mind at all. So
Well, let's just stop there for a second. So here's one important part that you have accomplished that I think a lot of people miss is you are getting very detailed information about the preferences of the clients and
mhm,
how flexible they are. And a lot of times that can happen in the sales conversation, but um, it's not captured in the document or in the work order, and then you don't know. So
yeah,
this is a really important lesson for everyone is to when you're onboarding a new client to have a conversation with them about how flexible or unflexible they are.
mhm,
Uh, because generally, I think people are more flexible than we think they are, and we're afraid to ask. But if we have that conversation up front, like obviously your team is, then we have that information at moment's notice when we need it in an emergency situation. So that's cool.
yeah,
And
and that is part of
I
our
didn't know that in the
onboarding.
beginning. So I think this is you take this for granted as something you guys just do. Well, somebody who's new in the business doesn't realize, "Oh, I'm supposed to write that down?"
Yeah. I mean, it used to be that, if we had, somebody call off or sick or whatnot, um, or just not show up, and we had Jeannie at 8 a.m. If we couldn't get Jeannie, it was the biggest deal. I mean, I was like stressed, anxious, just like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And now it's just, hey, maybe we can move Jeannie to the afternoon. And then somebody might say, nope. Jeannie likes mornings because in the afternoon she, has work meetings. And it's not just the onboarding process, we also have our cleaners listen. So if they're there, which most of the time our clients are not there, but if they
Mhm.
are, we have them listen. If they say, "Oh my gosh, mornings are so rough for me. I'm sorry that it's crazy here." We want the cleaners to say that to us. That way we can call and say, "Hey, would you rather that we get you to afternoons? Because we can try to do that if you like."
Mhm.
Um,
Well, and
but
people's lives change too after they sign up with you. They
yes,
might
things
have
always
more
change. Yeah,
babies or more pets or their job changes, where they have to
yeah,
leave earlier in the day, things like that. And so staying on top of those life changes by having your team members kind of observing what's happening in the home. Yeah,
yeah.
that's really important. And teaching them to communicate that back to you.
Yeah. And we'll a lot of times we'll sit down when we do like our one-on-ones with our cleaners and just say, "Hey, are you okay? How's life? How are things?" At that time, after we talk about them for a bit, we'll talk to the cleaners and just say, "Tell me a little bit about this client or tell me a little bit about this client." And I can just the other day I said, "Hey, what's going on with this client?" And she said, "I have never met her in my life. We've been cleaning for her for over a year and we've never met her." So that tells me that she's probably gone for a good period part of the
Mhm.
day.
Right.
I think that's very important is to just get to know your clients. And it's very easy to do if you just listen.
Mhm. Yeah. And ask questions and have
Mhm.
ongoing communication. Well, and I love that you also mentioned having one-to-ones with your team members because that can also help you prepare for kind of what's coming in their life that they might not be telling you unless you ask. Can
Mhm.
you think of an instant like that where like, you found out something during your one-to-one conversation that, maybe an employee was planning to move away or something or take a class or we're trying to get pregnant, whatever, stories that come up during those meetings.
Yeah, we do. I mean, and that's what I always tell the girls and I say girls because I only have girls hired right now. Um,
Mhm.
but that's one of the important things that I just had a meeting with my office manager this morning, and she said, I'd like to take them off site. So take them to a coffee shop, take them out to eat so that they really can kind of feel like they can open up a bit more. When
Mhm.
you're here and you're just in the conference room, sometimes you feel like you're at work, so you can only talk about work. And I really want the best for all my employees. I always say I want them better walking out my door than they were coming in my door, whether if that's
I love that.
mentally,
Mm.
physically, emotionally, financially. Um, because if I can change, I'm so thankful that they're changing our clients' lives, but I want us to be able to change their lives. So I do think that that's important because yes, you can find out that they're burnt out, and they're needing just a couple lighter days. But the last time you talked to them, they were saving up for something. And so here you are still giving them packed full schedules, and they're burnt out, but they're not telling us.
Right, and
um,
then they could just call off unexpectedly if you aren't in
yeah,
tune with, how they're doing now, and like you said, things change. One minute, they're like, give me more hours," but something happens in their life, maybe they've had some loss or some illness or something, and now they're overwhelmed, and we
yeah.
have to stay in touch with that. They're human beings, right?
Yeah,
And
and that has probably been, I don't want to say it's a worry of mine, but it's a worry of mine as we're growing. When you had 4 or 5 cleaners, it's very easy to keep um track of them. That doesn't
right,
sound right. To keep
right,
in
just
touch with
stay
them, to keep in
connected and
tune
yeah.
with them. They all met in my garage, at the beginning. And so they all, and then we got a small office and that's all we could fit was just us in there. Now when there's, 20 cleaners and half the time they're not coming in here, or they're coming in the afternoons before you're already gone. I don't want to become, and I don't mean this anything against a I shouldn't say Walmart, but I always say I don't want to become the Walmart of a cleaning company, where
Mhm.
you have so many employees, you don't know who's who. I guess I should probably say
Mhm.
department store. I don't want to become a department store of a cleaning company.
Right.
I truly want to know every one of them, what they're going through, ones that are getting married or ones that are saving for this or saving for that. That's important to me. It's very
Right.
important to me.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you really have used the strategy of being prepared, but also being connected with the people in your business, first your employees and then with your clients, so that you have all the information you need to make critical decisions at a moment's notice,
Hmm.
and that led to you then being able to have your family vacation and, giving it also kind of gave your team members the confidence to handle those issues. Reasonably and efficiently. So I'm sure it makes them feel empowered. And this may seem so basic to you because it's just natural for you to be this person who connects with others, but this is a entrepreneurial strategy that if you miss it, it's going to put you in a spot.
Right.
Like,
Right.
and I think often we just take for granted some of the success strategies that we have in place that are leading to our growth. Like you're building a business that's bigger than almost any other cleaning business in the United States. You're in the top 1%. So the fact that you're able to do that, this is one of those power strategies that you just take for granted, but other people can learn from and apply it to their business. I often think that, and I thought this way in the beginning, that people didn't want me to get into their personal stuff, right? Like,
Mhm.
but have you found though that people are welcoming to sharing, whether they're your employees or your clients? Like, it's okay if you ask them slightly personal questions.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I had, for the first time, I had a employee that was very private.
Hmm.
I've never had a private employee, and I'm not a private person. And so, a lot of times all of our employees are Facebook friends with each other, and she's not. She comes in every day. She's very, very friendly, but she's just her life is her life. And so she shared, something with me once that she was going through, and I thought, I really want to ask her about this because I care, but I don't want her to take offense to it. So, you have to use a different strategy than this person, right? This person, you can just ask in front of anybody, like, hey, how's this going?
Hmm.
So, it's whenever we'd have a private moment when we were alone, I would just say, hey, is everything going okay? And if she says, yeah, then that's just, so you also have to have different strategies for every employee because as you grow, not everybody is like you or they're not all the same. I mean, they all,
Hmm.
um, and I don't want them taking offense to me asking, but I also don't want them to take offense to me not asking. So I just, it's just you have to just kind of read each certain person for how they kind of are.
Right. Yeah, you can
Um,
have a process to it, but you do have to adjust for those
mhm,
different personalities. Yeah.
yeah.
And that also is a great leadership skill that you're in tune with that. Um, because that's another thing that people struggle with leading. Once you get past, 6 or 8 employees, your leadership is what's going to determine your ability to grow.
Mhm.
Because if you can't build a team, you can't grow your business. And,
Yeah.
we can kinda stumble along around 6 or 8 employees, but beyond that, you have to have some skill and be intentional about it, and I know you've really invested in your growth and your education and all of that, and you're part of our, CBF Ascension program and the pros and, in your cohort, that kind of thing. Those types of investments in yourself make a huge difference.
Yeah, and I often will try to find, because we are so busy, and I do have 3 kids, and a husband that I mean, that mean the absolute world to me. I don't ever wanna miss any of their sporting events or anything, and so it's very hard for me to get away to these leadership conferences. But the things I'm able to bring back, and, teach to my office staff, or even just better myself, because I always can do better and be better. I know I'm not the best at a lot of things, and there's a lot of things where I'll ask my office manager, "Hey, can you do this?" or "Can you teach me how you do this?" And so it's definitely, you try when you're the owner, you have to wear all the hats, even though you're not the best at wearing that hat.
Mhm.
So at the hats that I'm not very good at wearing, I like to, try to get better at for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's a great example for all of us, and I just appreciate you sharing this grime story with us today because this is one that we all are gonna run into, but often many of us stumble when we do. So thank you so much, Amber, for sharing this story with us today. Before we leave, any word of advice if somebody's new to the cleaning industry or, have been in the industry for a while, but they're stuck, what's one piece of advice that you would share with people, or what's one quote that kind of keeps you going?
I would just say probably the most important thing is not giving up. Just don't give up. Everything is figure outable. Everything, can everything's up, everything's down. I just think the most important thing is just not giving up. There's so many times when we look back and we as in my office staff, we look back and I'll share stories of, I was laying on the floor crying. And, now if that was to happen now, we're like, okay, that's not a big deal. We'll just move this person here, call this person, see if she's okay. And but I think it's just definitely being able to just know that you got to do the most emergent thing first and then, work down from there. Uh,
Mhm.
and it's just, um, that's what I always say. It's just a day and tomorrow's a new day. But just not giving up is probably the most important thing.
Yeah.
I will tell you is, even battling cancer, I think that being an owner of a cleaning company is um, up there with how hard that was. I mean, so it's not easy, but it's definitely rewarding. And reaching out if you have anybody that that is also an owner of a cleaning company, reaching out and asking for advice. There's no shame in asking, "Have you ever been through this?" or "What do you
Mhm.
say to this?" I mean, we've all been through something. If we haven't, then the next owner has. Um, and I think that we should all be there for each other, rather than, be in competition or anything like that. It's if we just make ourselves better and help other owners make, their businesses better, we can all come together
Yeah.
with the business.
Yeah, definitely finding a community, whether it's right there in your community and getting to know some other business owners or, through a larger organization like Cleaning Business Fundamentals or ISSA, like
Mhm.
connecting with other owners in your field. Oh my gosh, it's a
Yeah.
game changer. Yeah, for
And it
sure.
also makes you feel like I'm not alone. This is
Mhm.
not just happening to me. At the beginning, when you're first starting your business, you just think it's just happening to you. Maybe you don't think that, but it's how you feel.
It
Um,
feels that
so
way. Yeah, and
knowing that
generally
other people.
yeah, generally the other people in your life have no clue, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right, they don't deal with that kind of stuff, so they aren't used to it, and they think I know my friends, thought I was crazy. Why would I want to take all this
Mhm.
responsibility and that kind of thing? But that's what entrepreneurs are, like, we love to build things, and,
Yeah.
yeah, but this is so helpful, and I hope that everyone listening today, took some encouragement there because there were several steps that you talked about that set you up for success on that one day when you needed to be ready and your team needed to be ready. And that's what it's all about in entrepreneurship. You learn from every one of those experiences and you get better. One day you might be crying on the floor, but then a year later you're like, oh, no big deal. I've dealt with this 5 times, So,
Right.
yep, you
Right.
learn and you get better.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Amber. It was such a pleasure having you with us
Welcome.
today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. And to our audience, thank you for supporting True Grime Stories. You're helping us grow and helping us help more people in the residential cleaning industry. So please be sure and share this, download it, and subscribe. Give us a review. We'd love that. And be sure to come back next week for our next episode of True Grime Stories. We'll see you then. Thank you. Bye bye.